Hi there, folks. I'm Chris. I'm a guitarist and songwriter, and I live in Hawaii. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to best manage a musical collaborative project that involves musicians from, remote locations and involves using the internet. The goal of this video is for you to basically maximize the efficiency of your communication and expectations to your collaborative partners, resulting in the best possible performance from them with the minimal effort on their part and minimal effort on your part. It's all about, presenting the expectations, communicating clearly, and using tools effectively to exchange files and result in a cool collaboration with folks from literally anywhere in the world that has an internet connection. So let's get started. So tip number one, use something like Google Drive. I use Google Drive. There's a lot of alternatives out there. Dropbox comes to mind. There's probably a ton of others. I use Google Drive. It's free. It's got a lot of capacity at this point. Right now I've got something like 15 gig, and that capacity just keeps growing. Now, the reason why you want to use something like this is, number one, you want to avoid crowding up people's email with large files, but also this can serve as a centralized repository, an organizational tool for you to store your backing track, for your contributors to upload their files, and you to be able to download them at your convenience and whatnot. It's an organizational tool, and it's a way of keeping people's email clean. Tip number two, establish how you're going to communicate with your collaborators. Now, you're going to need their email addresses in order to share links for Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever, but email may not be the preferred mode of communicating. And whatever it happens to be, email, text, Facebook, whatever it happens to be, as long as it's agreed upon, there's no real wrong answer. It's just whatever works with your collaborators, and just establish that up front so that you know how to best get in touch with each other. Tip number three, choose the right settings for your backing track. What you're going to want to do is, when you're ready to output that backing track, make sure that you use the same sample rate and bit depth as your main project. This will make it easier for your collaborators to also use the same sample rate and bit depth, and that's what you want them to do, so that when you import their work, you don't have to do any conversions or anything like that. Now, of course, it's fine to also output MP3 files so that your collaborators can take a quick listen without having to download a large file, but you definitely want to also provide them with the option of downloading an uncompressed WAV or AIF file in the sample rate and bit depth of your project. Tip number four, give your collaborators as much details as you can. And you might even want to actually write this out as a template file that you can include with all of your projects. You're going to want to give them things like the sample rate of the backing track, bit depth, but also things like the key signature, the meter, the tempo, and for maybe more complex songs, you might even want to sketch out a simple like jazz style chart with the chord changes and the song structure, just so that your collaborators have the least amount of work to do to figure out the song that you've provided them. Another thing that you're going to want to provide them too is exact timestamps of where you want them to come in and timestamps of where you want them to finish. In addition to all of that, you're going to want to be clear with your expectations of what you want from your collaborators. Now, that could be as open-ended as tell them to listen to the backing track and play whatever comes to mind, or perhaps it's as specific as, in this section, I want you to play something that's kind of Hendrixy or kind of bluesy, or, in this section, I want you to play slow, drawn-out notes. In this section, I want you to, catch your fretboard on fire. with shredding, whatever it is, and be as clear and precise with your expectations as you can, because the clearer that you are with your expectations, the better idea your collaborators are going to have of what to provide you. So finally, tip number 5, give your collaborators a deadline. This goes hand in hand with previous tips about communication and managing expectations. By giving your collaborators a deadline, you're basically giving them the ability to prioritize their own workflow on their time and being able to meet the expectations of your project in a timely manner. Now, of course, when you're working with your collaborators, you're going to need to be flexible and communicate clearly in order to figure out what the best deadline is that works well for both of you. But that's part of collaborating, is, compromise, communication, and, working things out and being flexible. So just kind of wrapping things up here, I hope you find these tips to be useful. My whole goal is to make the administrative side of managing a musical collaboration a little bit easier and more efficient, so that you and your collaborators can focus on the important thing, the music itself. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already done so, please click on the subscribe button so that any future content that I make, you'll get notified. And thank you again for watching. Cheers.